Number 2 of the Bumper to Bumper program on this Tuesday. Jonny Athletic, some bonus time with him, bottom of the hour. And then at 5:30, Brett Blakemore to talk World Cup. We're still 2 days away from the U.S.'s next match.
Thursday night.
Thursday night against Turkey.
Right here on the Fan.
You made it sound like it was like starting at 11 o'clock at night. It's 8 o'clock Central.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that late. It's not that
I think it's the same time
right?
they had for their first match.
Is that true?
Friday night at 8,
Are you still certain it's Los Angeles?
Yes.
Okay. That's been confirmed?
I mean, by me, I looked at the website.
Okay.
That was yesterday, I think.
That's close enough. I sent you some sound.
Yep.
And let me explain why I think it's important to play, even if you can make the argument it's Kendrick Perkins. He can be kind of bombastic. He's entertaining, but he can be kind of bombastic. And so what's the point? Why feed into what he has to offer? Well, he's got a pretty large platform. But I offered up almost as a form of inoculation. Because I'm here to tell you, the only way... I mean, what do they say about, you get a vaccine and then with that you build up hopefully some resistance to that particular condition or disease? And I'm hoping that by playing this, it will help you, it will inoculate you from what's coming. Because there is now zero question that from this point forward, rest of this calendar year, and next calendar year, the how long will Anthony Edwards stay happy in Minnesota story is unavoidable. It's inescapable. You can hate it. You could say it's oversimplified. You can say the facts don't even matter, and you wouldn't be wrong. But I'm here to try to help you cope with it so that maybe once inoculated, you won't lose your mind every time you hear it, and you'll be able to just sort of, okay, chuckle and move on with the rest of your life. Because you can't you're not going to be able to block you're not going to be able to block everybody. Not if you're an NBA fan. Exactly. Yeah. So it's going to happen. Now, the first part of this soundbite is Windy.
Yep, Brian Windhorst.
And raising some of the issues that we did. And then it gets to Perkins, who's trying to make a larger point that is undeniable, if painful, but better that you get inoculated by maybe once a week we play the same soundbite just for a few weeks for like a month to build. That's true.
Different strains. We'll do different strains of vaccine.
Some measure of resistance where you will say, just yawn. Okay, well, they're doing it again. Because to be angry about it and resentful every time, you're going to end up with an ulcer. And it's not going to do you any good, especially if it becomes a bleeding ulcer. Those aren't good, they tell me. Right. So let's listen. This is from earlier, just within, I think, the last hour on, their NBA draft pre-coverage, shall we say, because, of course, tonight is round one of the NBA draft.
They end up making this move for Julius Randle, and it's not so much about trading Randle. Randle did not perform well in the playoffs. Nobody's doubting that. Nobody is saying that he had to stay on that roster. The issue is they trade him for a salary dump for nothing. Now, their team is not complete. Their offseason is not complete. They created a $30 million trade exception. They could go out and re-spend that money. But making moves like this to cut salary when you have Ant Edwards in his prime is something the league is paying attention to and wonders how Ant will think about it.
Well, knocking at his prime. And they're banking on their player development. Anthony Edwards is somewhat trusting the process for this season. He's banking that Ayo is going to be better, who just got $112 million. He's banking on his road dog and Jay McDaniels that he's going to come in and get better. And by the way, since you brought up that trade with Karl Anthony Towns, it's going down as one of the worst trades in NBA history. And history also tells us that the Minnesota Timberwolves, Andrew Wiggins moved on, former #1 pick, won the championship somewhere else. Karl Anthony Towns moved on, former #1 pick, won the championship somewhere else. Andrew Wiggins moved on. Kevin Garnett moved on, won the championship somewhere else. Kevin Love, who you just got through talking about, Sean did, moved on and won a championship somewhere else. History cannot repeat itself. They cannot allow that to lose Anthony Edwards. They got to test it out. By the trade deadline, if it's not working, they got to make a splash, and that splash has to be someone like a Kyrie Irving.
All right.
Now, I know it hurts. I know you want to scream. I say, you're oversimplifying the story. One story doesn't have to have anything to do with the other. I'm just here to say better to get it out now, hear it at its most extreme form, and maybe you'll build up a little of that, I don't know, a little of that scar tissue in a good way that will protect you from what is going to happen every day this offseason. It's going to happen if the Wolves struggle early next year. You're going to hear it. It's basically you're going to hear it. I'm going to say daily, and if not that, you're certainly going to hear it weekly. And it's not just a conspiracy against us. It happens everywhere. It's the one league in which that itch is scratched most regularly, and some of it goes back to the belief that NBA players, because of the nature of the game, is one player can mean that much, and only 5 play at once. That players have that power, they exercise that power, because the comeback, of course, is he's still got 3 years on his contract. Come on, man. I don't think that's a meaningful distinction, to be honest with you. It depends on the individual player and what he reads into the situation. I have no reason to think that he's at that place now. But in all honesty, could you blame him if he's curious?
Right.
Could you blame him if he goes, okay, where are we going with this thing exactly? Again, we got this extra money. Are we going to use it? What kind of player are we going to use it on? On the positive side, I liked where Perkins finished. He brought up Kyrie. The problem is there doesn't seem to be much indication that Kyrie is going to be available. Now, somebody said this yesterday, and I dismissed it, and maybe I dismissed it too easily. Because I heard somebody this morning say, Dusty May and Kyrie, how's Kyrie going to be with a former college coach, even highly regarded? Is Kyrie going to revert a little bit and say, this college hotshot's going to coach me? Kyrie Irving, best handle ever. So maybe that will open the door a little bit. I don't know. But on the other hand, if the new management there believes they want Kyrie back, it's difficult for me to believe they'd hire somebody that would immediately get in the way of that. So how much due diligence do they do? Do they talk to Kyrie about it? I have no idea. But I guess it's worth speculating on, or at least wondering about, whether that might change Kyrie's view of, I don't want to break in a new coach. I had a good vibe with Jason, or I would have had a good vibe maybe with a guy who's been doing this a few times. I don't care how good Dusty May was at college. That name's not very mythic for the NBA. Dusty, come on, man. And he's a college guy, so where are we? Who knows?
Can I play a Kendrick Perkins bite from earlier today that might make people feel better?
Okay, sure, absolutely.
You want to do it now? You want to do it after the break?
Let's go ahead and break and stay on schedule. We will have bonus Johnny at the bottom of the hour. And we will talk some draft stuff on him. See, here's how it feeds on itself. And this is why I think the inoculation was important. Dan, are you surprised Ant hasn't come out with a statement refuting the reports? That becomes some of the dangerous...
His silence is deafening.
...exhausting game. Because that's what some of the national bloggers and podcasters will say. Funny. Haven't heard anything from Anthony refuting all this stuff. As if it would matter how many times he refuted it. Because even if he did refute it, say, was he really refuting it?
Right. Why did he feel the need to refute it?
Sounded half-hearted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what would make him do it in the first place? All right, we'll come back with more Kendrick sound. Don't forget, at 5:30, Brett Blakemore on World Cup.
You're listening to Barrero on The Fan.
From the 1-800 app.
We got people channeling the famous Kirk Cousins quote. The problem isn't this trade, it's what this trade represents.
Oh, wow, I like how we've spun
How
it.
deep is that?
It's very deep.
By the way, it looks like Kirko is going to be the starter for the Vegas Raiders. And I think that's a very judicious move. Now, it's always easier for bad teams to do it that way, but it's really quite sensible. And it's difficult for me to believe that J.J. McCarthy coming out of college was any more, I guess, ready to be an immediate starter than this kid, right? In fact, I would think this kid would be readier. And the fact that even nevertheless, they're saying he's going to sit at least to start the year. I don't know. Maybe the grand plan is he becomes a starter halfway through. We'll have to wait and see.
Only time will tell, Davey.
Only time will tell, Davey. That's exactly correct. So you have another piece of sound. This is also from Kendrick. This is from earlier
this morning.
Today.
Yes, when he was on First Take with Stephen A.
Gotcha.
And it starts the setup of Stephen A. Just the last couple of seconds, he went on and on about the trade and everything, and then basically
ant part of it.
The ant part of it.
Yeah.
Will he want to stay there? And then Perk does a little reporting.
Sits up there and says, "Yo, man, it's time for me to get up out of here."
But that's say, listen, I'm an analyst. That don't mean I don't have my ears to the streets and I don't have my sources. I don't just do reporting. But I'm coming on here as a reporter, and I'm telling you that Anthony Edwards is happy. I'm telling you right now, he has the belief in Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid and Ayo. This is how he wants to rock. They have a certain type of brotherhood over there, and he believes that those guys are going to get better. Again, I'm not saying it's not going to change come trade deadline, but I'm telling you, I had to make calls this morning. I don't usually do that, Shay. I speak from off the top of the dome. But I had to do my research and make some calls. The Ant-Man is cool and happy rolling with the guys he have in the locker room.
Interesting.
This is how he wants to rock.
So, and I think what that tells me a little bit, and he wouldn't be the first to say it, but if just in terms of who you're playing on a regular basis more often, I think it's less likely this offense is less likely to bog down. I think you have more built-in speed. You have, I think, if you want to run more, I think it's easier to run. Randle, now again, the irony is Anthony Edwards doesn't always seem like he wants to run, but I think
he admits it.
He can get pushed around or along a little bit to that. But I think, look, I still worry. Naz, for me, dribbles too much sometimes, even though a lot of times he makes a basket at the end of that period. But you've taken away one of the main ball gets sticky guys. And I think that can nurture the notion that we got to play a different way. We got to play faster. The ball's got to move more. And I think that is easier, is accomplished more easily with Julius Randle out of there. Now, on the other hand, you do have to replace his production one way or another. And that gets back to, okay, who else can you add that might be interesting? And whether, how many of the kids can be brought along and end up being a bigger, much bigger factor this year.
I do like the fact that Naz is going to be able to give you a little bit more space than Randle, too.
100%.
That he'll be the guy.
Especially with Rudy here, that matters.
Totally. And those two, that's another number that's been floated around a lot.
The defense number, yeah.
Well, the defense number and just the overall net rating, that's a very productive pair, Rudy and Naz Reid. When they're on the floor together, the Wolves have been very good. So that's something, to use a 2026 phrase, to lean into as well and recognize and understand.
Well, we'll see, like I said, where it goes. But I don't want the reason that we don't make another ambitious move to be money. And that's a red flag. And it's the wrong time to send that message, even though, again, owners can it's their team. They can always do what they want to do. But there's been a lot of murmurings behind the scenes that across the organization, a lot of things have been tightened up. And the concern was, would this spill over into the basketball operation? Most people were not going to savage them for wanting to stay out of the second apron because a lot of teams say that. Now, the interesting thing will be what happens in New York, because originally owner guy basically said, we're not going to do a second apron. Then I saw a story more recently indicating that he might be softening on that depending on a couple of sleight of hand moves that they might do. So we're going to have to see exactly where that goes. If you have questions for Johnny, because he is coming up next, 64686 is the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. We will get to some World Cup before we're done. There might be some A-section stuff. I have, apropos of nothing, an interesting stat that was brought to my attention that I wish we could do something about in the United States of America. I fear it's too late. We'll save that a little bit later. It's really nothing heavy as in politically, so you don't have to necessarily worry about that in this case. If you're a shark or you're a jail, there goes Barrero again, dividing his audience. I don't really think that applies here. But again, there's a good chance probably somebody will translate it into, well, no, here's what Dantifa really means, which is possible. But let's chat with Jonny, and we may talk some draft, even though I don't know if it matters at 33. Some people think there's still going to be players at 33, or if there's any chance that he is hearing there's another move, another sneaky move we might make tonight. Because I don't think we talked to him yesterday. He thought Randle was necessarily on the front burner. And that seemed to come together fairly quickly, too. So, Jonny, right around the corner.
You're listening to Barrero on The Fan.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One,
is coming back to Las Vegas.
September 8th.
Time for Jonny Athletic. Jonny Athletic. Jonny Athletic. And he's on with Dan Barrero right now.
Boy, this is a big package.
On this day, 15 years ago, so 2011, the Minnesota Timberwolves drafted a player named Targai Ngombo. This was David Kahn's last draft, if you may recall it, as
hard to believe,
president of basketball operations / GM.
I don't know, show of hands.
He was the 57th pick in the 2011 draft. He claimed to be 21 years old, but on the day after the draft, it was revealed that he was actually 26 years old. He was a 6'6" small forward. Eventually, I think he ended up going to another team because he was ineligible to be drafted, and the pick could be negated. Let's see what our next guest can remember. Do you remember much about the Ngombo story, that big draft, that scandal?
I do remember it. I mean, I was on the front lines of it back in that day, yeah. And I do just remember the utter shock of like, did this really happen? This is something that you guys really did, but it did kind of keep with the overall, I would say, ethos of that group that always thought that they were one step ahead of the game, and it turned out that they were a couple steps behind. And so I think the hubris kind of got the best of them in that case, and they didn't do all of their research and ended up with some egg on their face.
So, I don't know, show of hands.
I guess I forgot this part. He was selected by the Blazers, and then they traded Ngombo to Minnesota, correct? And did he ever, was it negated, or I don't even remember if he ever got here.
Yeah, no, it was negated because you couldn't make the pick, and I think that was one of those cases, Dan, where the Wolves traded for that pick on draft night with the intention of taking him. Gotcha. And so technically, did the Blazers select him? Yes, but
on
really they were
Wolves.
picking for the Minnesota Timberwolves there. Yeah, no one else was going to take that guy with that pick, I will tell you that.
Did he ever make it to the National Basketball Association? I don't remember.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. I think he might have played in a summer league or something like that. But he never played let me just see here. I'm looking this up. Yeah, never played in a game, never appeared, but I think he was at summer league with the team way back when for a very brief amount of time.
The percentage chance that the Wolves make any move today, I don't think necessarily has to be seismic, any move on draft night.
I mean, yeah, there's a chance, absolutely. I mean, Tim Connolly is working the phones, looking for deals, and that, could it be to move up back into the first round if one of their guys slides? I think that's a possibility. Could it be just a separate deal for a veteran, for a ball handler, for someone else to help their team? Yes, that could happen as well. I wouldn't put the likelihood at high, just because, trades are hard to pull off, and they just did give up that 28th pick, which was one of their big sort of carrots to dangle in a deal. But I'm not putting anything past Tim Connolly right now. I do know that this is not just a case of they trade Julius Randle and that's their move, and now they're going to sit on their hands. They're out there looking to make some other things happen as well.
Could there be anything as big as Rudy being dealt tonight?
I mean, possibly. I wouldn't say absolutely not on that. I don't think so. I don't think the Timberwolves want to trade Rudy Gobert. They know what he brings from a defensive standpoint. He had a great year last year. Of course, he has some of the offensive issues that they need to work through. But I think they know that if you do trade Rudy Gobert and you're not getting a big man back, everything that holds your defense together is gone. And so it would be a huge, huge adjustment for them. Now, that said, I will not completely rule it out, because I do think that they are trying to be aggressive in this, like, whatever version 3.0 of the Anthony Edwards Timberwolves is. And they're looking at a bunch of different scenarios, but everything that I've been told is that they would prefer to keep Rudy unless some major thing presents itself that they just don't think they can pass up on.
The most concerning tweet that you've sent out in the last 24 hours for me was this one. And I as I read it, I'm bringing it up because I want to be sure I understand what it sounded to me like you were saying. This is from 16 hours ago. Oh, hold on. I had it. Here we are. I will be incredibly surprised if the Wolves ever utilize the $33 million trade exception that was created tonight. Those things are almost always much ado about nothing, and it is clear that money was a factor tonight. Now, that sounds, if I'm a Wolves fan, pretty ominous, that this is more than anything else about, cutting back the payroll, so to speak. Is that what you intended? Do you feel the same way about it, or do you want to explain it in more depth?
I'll add a little bit of depth to it. First of all, in that, if you follow the league, when deals like this happen and trade exceptions are created,
right,
there is generally a buzz about it. Okay, the Wolves have a $33 million trade exception that they can bring a player into, or Team X has a $22 million trade exception that they can use to help facilitate a deal. And I will tell you, 95% of those trade exceptions never get used. Mm-hmm. A lot of times that means that you have to just get another team to give you a player for draft picks or something, right, that you just take into it. And so it just doesn't work out that way. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the Wolves are being just cheap in not using it. I do think that the deal that the Julius Randle trade did open up that mid-level exception, which is like a $15 million player. I think they will try to use that. So I think that they will spend money. But I also think when you look at the mechanics of all of this, absolutely money was a factor in making this decision. Was it the only factor? No, but it was a factor to get under the luxury tax. And as I wrote at The Athletic, there is risk there, Dan. You have a 24-year-old superstar that is inching toward his prime, and you have to make sure that the team that you put around him is ultra competitive and that he believes that you are fully invested in making a winner. And if you are not paying the luxury tax, the rest of the team better be really damn good. And I think that the Wolves believe that can happen. I think they will still look to add other people to the team to help make it a better team. But there's, when you look at it, I don't see any way you can dispute that finances did come into this in some way, shape, or form as they went through all of the mechanics of making this deal.
Yeah, and that's my concern. I think that's ominous. Again, there's a lot of tentacles to it, and but realistically, the mid-level is not going to be a player that's going to make you forget all of this. Realistically, I don't think. Mm-hmm. And I said this, and you can comment on this, see if you agree or disagree. It's a tricky spot, I think, that the new owners are in that I'm worried that they think, compared to the history of this organization, we've had the best run here. We've had a really good run. And we can play a little bit on that equity. And I think it's the opposite. I think what they got to be careful they don't miscalculate is, or misunderstand, is that you got a committed, very, very focused and engaged fan base right now. And if they get the feeling that with Anthony Edwards, as you say, heading into, what was supposed to be his best years, that we're kind of cutting it down and not just second apron, we're talking about luxury tax at all, I think there will be a pretty quick revolt because they're committed. I think these fans, they're into this thing. They want to see where this thing is going to go. And I don't think they're going to be real good about if it goes badly for the wrong reason, like that reason, as opposed to, well, they just made a couple personnel moves or trades and it just didn't work out. What do you think?
Yeah, I think absolutely, Dan. I mean, you also go to look at the ticket price increases that they gave this fan base. And yes, there are good reasons for that. They've always been notoriously low on the scale, and they needed to bring revenue up and get a little bit closer to a more representative price structure given how successful this team has been. But fans have been used to what they've been paying. And so when you raise ticket prices and then if you do cut payroll, it puts a lot of pressure on the team to deliver in a major way. And that is why it is really important that Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels take steps forward. And I do think that there is, they can say with a straight face two things. They can say, one is, this very well could be addition by subtraction.
Yes.
You take out Julius Randle's kind of moodiness, you take out all of the shots that he takes, and you redistribute them to Naz Reid and to Jaden McDaniels. It could be better with that kind of construction. The second thing that they can say is, when you dip under the tax line like they have, you do open up other avenues for team building that were not previously available, like the full non-taxpayer MLE.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that does is it gives them another bullet to fire to add talent. Now, it also increases or reduces the margin for error with decisions that you make on that talent. You have to hit on whoever you use that mid-level exception on. You have to get internal improvement from Terrence Shannon Jr., from Yohan Berenger, from all of these guys. So there's very little margin for error here. And to your point, Dan, if it does go poorly, if it doesn't work out, and the fans have a whiff of, well, they're not really investing as much as they should be, there is going to be real misgivings. There is going to be a revolt. Ask the poll ads. What the Timberwolves owners are doing is nothing compared to what the poll ads did. Let's say that. But yes, everyone's kind of radar is up right now and just watching to see what happens next year.
RBC Wealth Management brings Jonny Athletic to you, our fine listeners. Let's get back to Randle being traded for as little as the Wolves got in return on its own. Because I think when we talked yesterday, I think you'd said, look, you've been reporting on this story for a while, and the word was you said yesterday, they ain't getting a lot of takers for Julius Randle. That said, I have to admit that when you factor in his production, I was gobsmacked that there wasn't. My assumption was, here's what you're going to get. You're going to get another player back who has some questions, but that you think you're willing to gamble on those questions because you do need to clear this guy out. You need to subtract this guy. So your questionable guy in some ways on one level, maybe a locker room level, goes out, and we get another guy in who maybe has got to show he can develop one more skill or whatever the case may be. That's the part that surprised me. I didn't think it would have to be this level of rock bottom. Did you?
No, I didn't. Well, I didn't, but I was wondering about it because everything I told you yesterday was 100% true and verified by what happened, because the Wolves were looking for those scenarios for, a basketball trade to get something back for Julius, and maybe an ill-fitting piece on another team fits better with the Wolves, and then they can kind of keep building that way and just a restructure. It just wasn't available. There wasn't a whole lot of a market out there for Julius Randle. And so ultimately what the Wolves decided in making this move is that, look, we are not going to get someone even that we, think could work in a different role here. We're going to change it up, and now we can unload them. Now, there is value in this deal, Dan, for the Wolves in terms of giving them really a lot more flexibility to make all sorts of different moves. Now they could go make a big trade.
Yes.
Now they could, sign someone else. So, they're getting something that's just not coming back immediately. And so that's the challenge that is in front of Tim Connolly right now, is to use this newfound financial flexibility to their advantage, because this financial flexibility is not going to sell tickets in October. It's got to be adding talent around Anthony Edwards to do it. It just might be, kind of step one, step two, rather than doing it all in one transaction.
Once upon a time in this league, second-round draft choices, even high second-round draft choices, were viewed as, okay, yeah, you pick somebody, you take it, what are the odds that something's going to develop or something's going to happen? We have the exceptions. Brunson, I think, was, of course, a second-round pick. I believe it wasn't Ginobili as well. Regardless, we've got examples in round
Jokic.
two.
Yep.
Yeah, Jokic. So how do you think the Wolves view this pick? Right now, I think we're at 33 after the trade. Are there names you've heard? Is there anybody you think could actually be intriguing in a way that could add to the talent level of this club, or is it still very much a long shot?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that way, Dan. I will say this. In terms of the value of 33, the Wolves were pretty happy to get 33 back for Julius Randle because they only moved back 5 spots from 28 to 33, and they didn't see a tangible drop-off in available talent between those 2 spots. So they think that if the board breaks right, that they could get a player who was pretty close to what they could have got at 28 at 33. Now, what is the likelihood of that player coming in and being a reasonable or significant contributor to this rotation in year one? I think it's pretty low, to be honest with you. I mean, we have a head coach that likes to play veterans. You have, you also have a draft class that has been gutted by the NIL in college. You have a lot more players staying in college for extra years to take the money they get there rather than come to the NBA and non-guaranteed contracts in the second round. And so it is, it's going to be hit or miss. And there is a chance that they could get, maybe an older player that is, able to at least give them something. But I think that I will believe that part when I see it. I think whoever they pick there, if they do pick at all, maybe they trade back or accumulate more assets going forward, it would be more of a developmental player that would be ready in a year or two.
So the discussion and the name of the player now escapes me. You wrote about this, that they brought in a guy who clearly is expected to go higher than what was their original position in the draft. Is that all rendered moot by what has happened since, or do you think there is a rational way that a reasonable way with which the Wolves could move up in the first round?
Well, I think that it was really interesting that they brought LeBaron Filan in from Alabama this last weekend, because they were at 28 and he is projected to go somewhere between like 13 and 21. And that is a long ways from 28. And generally speaking, agents of prospects will not agree to send their player to a team for a workout that is out of their projected range. So I do think it was notable that the agents decided that, yes, we will send him there just in case the Wolves can move up. Now, without 28, moving up from 33 is harder to do. True. And so I do think it's less likely that the Wolves can do something to get up into a range to pick him or to pick, any other guy that they really like and that might slide a little bit. But I'm not ruling that out, because we saw Tim Connolly go up for Rob Dillingham. And so they do have a need at guard for a little bit more depth. And so if one of those guards starts to fall, like Filan or someone else, I could see Connolly really trying to do that and trying to pull it off. Again, very difficult to do, but I think it's possible that something like that could happen.
Regarding what would clearly is going to be the new lineup here, certainly in terms of the front court, is it likely it will be less stodgy? That the ball might move better? That we might? I mean, we got better in terms of fast breaks even last year, but that I guess I'm asking you, how different do you believe the offense will look? What do you expect it to evolve into?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot faster, Dan. One of the things that would run into we constantly see happen with this offense over the last 2 years is when it got bad, the ball got sticky, as Chris Finch would say, and it would be Ant or Julius in isolation situations, pounding the air out of the ball and then taking tough shots. One advantage to having Naz Reid in the starting lineup over Julius Randle, he spreads the floor much better. He's a much better three-point shooter and a real threat that you have to respect. So he's going to spread the floor for Ant. Secondly, I think Julius is a better passer and a better reader of the floor than Naz Reid is. But Naz makes decisions so much quicker than Julius does. And so I do think you will see the ball moving around at a much quicker pace. And Io makes quick decisions as well that way. And so you put those two in the starting lineup, you empower Jaden McDaniels a little bit more to really look for his own offense. And I think they'll play with more force and more urgency than they have in the last 2 years.
Two last items. One of them, when we talked about Josh Giddey yesterday, and then when the trade was announced, or at least written about by you and others, I got a very urgent phone call from Sam Mitchell, and I mentioned early in the show, I told Gaardsy, if I hadn't said I got to go, I'd still be talking to him right now. I mean, we were on over an hour, and I think I got like 4 words in. But I argued with him because I brought up Josh. He's not a Josh Giddey guy because his theory on Giddey is you can't play him in the postseason because the offenses hunt him, and it's a real problem. He kind of likes him offensively. I still do. Now, I don't even know now. Did any of these deals we've talked about, does the landscape change on making them less likely, more likely? Does one thing, what took place yesterday or last night, have any sort of impact on some of the names that you and I have been talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of that is still in play, Dan. Now, I would say that I expected if they were going to make any of those moves for Giddey, for DeJounte Murray, for Jalen, for anybody you put out there, I thought 28 would be involved in that. 28 is no longer available. 33 is. Some teams will value the top of the second round a little more than the bottom of the first because you have more flexibility with how you structure those contracts. And so that's a good thing. But I do think that the Timberwolves are continuing to explore all of those types of deals to see if there's more talent that they can add that way versus signing someone with the mid-level exception. I think they can still look at those scenarios, but now you're looking at, do you trade Rudy? Do you trade Dante DiVincenzo? Who do you use to help facilitate those things now that Julius is not a part of the thing? But maybe that doesn't hurt the Wolves at all because clearly no one was really interested in Julius for any of the stuff that the Wolves were kind of chasing after. So I think all of that is still in play to some degree, and it would not shock me at all if another deal comes in and they get a veteran player that can either start or come off the bench or help them, from a depth standpoint.
Does Dusty May getting the Mavericks job have any impact on Kyrie's availability? Because I heard this nationally that one of the theories is, Kyrie is kind of settled there, but Kyrie, I don't know if he's going to like playing for a college coach. Even if he's capable, Kyrie, the idea of breaking in a college coach, no matter how highly regarded, that might be the kind of thing that sets Kyrie off again in a direction in which he strongly encourages the notion that I want to go someplace else. Will one thing have anything to do with the other?
I mean, I thought about that as well, Dan. Talking to people who know Kyrie some, he does have I'm the smartest guy in the room type of an air about him sometimes. And how does he respect a college coach the same way he does a pro coach? But I don't know. You could say that. What if they hired Micah Nori? What if they hired an assistant, coach that had not been a head coach?
Yeah, true.
At that level, I think you'd be dealing with the same things. My guess is that with Masai Ujiri there, who's very good at relating with players and talking them through things, I think that they're going to stick to their guns, because I do think that they want Cooper Flagg to have a real veteran point guard next to him to help him develop longer. So I have not gotten the sense in the last few days, as Dusty May has been hired, that has all of a sudden reopened the bidding war for Kyrie. But maybe he does look at it, and maybe he sits down with Dusty May and is like, this isn't for me. I want to go win somewhere. But I know he's really comfortable in Dallas.
Yeah.
And so I'm not holding my breath for Kyrie to re-enter the market here.
Lastly, Micah Nori is your guy, finally gone.
Yeah.
Hired by the Portland Trailblazers. But it's being reported as a one-year contract with then options on the part of the team. How unusual a deal is that? What does it tell us?
Yeah, it's incredibly unusual, Dan. The new owner of the Blazers owns the hockey team in Carolina that just won the Stanley Cup, by the way. But, hey, Fallness, look at how your hockey owners work with their coaches. I mean, come on. What are we doing here? This is Bush League. It does not happen in the NBA, Dan. It's absolutely, there are coaches around the league that are not happy that this is going forward. They're worried about it setting a new precedent. To have a one-year deal with only team options going forward gives him no security. He is going to have a challenge of challenging players who have longer contracts and things like that. But I do know that Micah Nori really believes that he can do a good job there. It is a good roster. He was at a stage of his career where he felt he had to take a deal like this just to get this opportunity, because he didn't know if he was going to get another one. But it's absolutely completely unique, and it just shows when you let the hockey people into basketball just how much messier it gets.
We appreciate you. The bonus time. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Jonny Athletic helping us out for the second consecutive day, because sometimes you just need more Johnny. I think K Fallness is firing back, or at least maybe I should say a K Fallness burner account. The only apron Billy G is worried about is which one he'll wear when he makes his meatballs after another big, expensive trade for the Minnesota Wild. Very well played, Clayton from Rochester.
Bumper to bumper with